Welcome to Norwegian Modeling Bench. This is Kenneth, and this is the fourth installment on the BB-63 USS Missouri build. So today we will be tackling the superstructure base, or the first levels of the superstructure. There's quite a lot of work involved in getting to this stage, and I hope that it will be a good basis for the rest of the build. That will be proven later down the line. At least I'm hoping that I have not made myself any disfavors of doing it this way. So first off, I tried to look at what obstacles I would have and which challenges I would have putting these levels together. So removing all the nubs from the parts and making them ready, dry fitting them together to see where the challenges lay. And this is where the challenges lay, where you need to add those extra walls to the parts. So you can see here that I've done so. Of course, if you were supposed to do one level at a time, this would definitely become a challenge. So drilling out all the portholes for the different levels and preparing for the remaining work. So there is a lot of different PE parts going on here, both from the Pontos detail upset and also from the kit itself. I also added those platforms on the sides where we're supposed to add them later on if you're going to follow the instructions. But at least this is what I think will yield the best results, so I can paint it up in one go. So as you can see, there's both combination here of PE from the kit itself. There are also plastic parts that needs to be added to these bulkheads, and also then parts from the Pontos set. So there are some parts that needs to be removed, like these on the side, where you have, it looks like a kind of a boom that are molded in plastic, but where you're going to replace them with PE. Not necessarily a big job of removing plastic on these levels, but at least it needs to be done. And then you have in the instructions that you need to remove a platform part from kit C1, that's supposed to be C2, and those are being replaced with these PE platforms. So a bit of plastic surgery there to get those removed and then adding them. And then I'm starting to glue the different levels together, starting with the upper one, or the third level here, using CA glue to get a quick bond, and then also using thin cement around the edges afterwards when the bond was good. And then adding the first and the second level together. So in this case, I'm using my trusty friend E6000. So I have some leverage to move the parts. If you're using CA, you would of course get an instant bond. And if using thin CA, you wouldn't get a good coverage beneath. And well, I think it's a good glue for these cases. Also had to clamp these parts together to get a good fit. Otherwise you would have some minor gaps between the levels. So letting them dry for the night before adding the walls. And as you can see, there is quite a bit of a gap here that needs to be filled. On the other side, it wasn't any gap. There wasn't any gap. So some misalignments in this kit. You should also be aware of that there is a lot of tiny flash. I didn't see that when doing the review of this kit, but when working with it, I've seen there is lots of tiny flash that you need to be aware of. So then using putty, some plastic putty, and then also Mr. Surfacer to get a better filling of those gaps. Of course, sanding them down and preparing for the work ahead. So you're just using a moist brush to remove the plastic putty, and then sanding it down later on. So then adding the forepart here, which will then go under the navigation bridge and so on. You need to do some work on this to sand down some areas so it will fit nicely, but all doable. But definitely make sure that you do a dry fit test before starting to do that. And then removing those windows and replacing them with the PE from Pontos. There are also some extensions to those bulwarks that you also need to add. And then I painted up with deck blue, cover that with liquid mask before going ahead painting it up with haze gray. And I must say, at this point you can see there's a lot of nice details on these bulkheads, the walls and so on, really nice. Then I painted up the fire hoses, the fire reels, and the life buoys. I know they're supposed to be white in this area, but giving a bit of an extra color I think was quite nice. Then I've started adding those wooden decks. So as you can see, I started on the second level, so I could then later on attach these platforms that go on the flag deck. And these are quite flimsy parts. I don't know why they constructed it this way, but I am a bit worried that this one will become an issue later on. I hope not. But getting a good alignment and so on is quite difficult. Of course, as you can see later on, I also then dry fitted the funnel, so I could see that at least it was possible to get a good match between those. But well, I don't know what we have in store there. After the wooden deck is in place, you have a lot of these waterways or gutters that go on the sides, the same as with the deck itself. So just using CA glue and then putting one piece in position at a time. So a lot of nice work there, but it's really sun work doing that kind of work. And as you can see, I have pre-painted, of course, these PE parts as well, so you don't have to do any painting afterwards. So that's my game plan for this, trying to pre-paint as much as possible before installing, and then making sub-assemblies that I can paint all together. And then nearing the end, installing those gun tubs, both in the stern area and also in front, as you can see, with the ammo racks from the Pontos set as well included. For this one, you need to be aware that you need to sand down a bit because of the wooden deck. You have a kind of a nub sticking out on beneath that you need to make the height a bit shorter at least, so otherwise the tub would stick too far up. So that's something to be aware of at least. And then adding those ammo rings before. I have the end result here, which is of course just dry fitted onto the hull. So I can continue to work with this without, of course, having the entire ship in place in front of me. So that's it for this time. I hope that you enjoyed. I hope that you will like and subscribe if you don't. And as always, I definitely do appreciate comments and feedback on my work and what you think I should improve on and so on. So until next time, stay safe.